Hi everybody, welcome to another Broken Meeple video. I'm Luke Hector, and be sure to leave a like and a comment at the end of this video if you can. It means the world to me to know that people appreciate the content. And of course, don't forget the mini Patreon campaign if you want to support this channel even further. Right, finally, getting on with some more of these top 100s. I have got a ton of Essence stuff to get through, like a ridiculous amount, and it's still less than some other people who had acquisition disorders, it seems. But I've still got 3 more videos to do for this top 100, including this, and a live stream to talk about the ones that didn't make the list and the ones that fell off. So yeah, get a move on, Luke! As you can see, the tablet got sold because the stupid thing kept crashing during every game of Descent, so I used my phone instead. But this section of 10, you have seen all of these games before, but that's not an excuse for you to turn off the video, okay? I want to sing the praises about these just as much as anything else. It's just there's no debuts on this list. Without further ado,
get on with it.
My number 30 has been pretty steady overall. I mean, it's only dropped 1 place since last time, and even then I think it rose a few places in recent years, and now is sitting quite comfortably in my top 30, hoping one day it will hit the top 25. It could do. It's one of my favourite games that I've played since the dawn of time, pretty much. Even though I got into gaming more seriously about 6-7 years ago, this one I was playing even before then when I was at university in the early 2000s, and that is Citadels. Specifically, in this case, the Master Set, which is the one that I own, but frankly, you could give me the basic set in its little travel edition pouch, and I'd be perfectly happy just playing with the normal 8 characters, because frankly, that's kind of what I do for the teaching games anyway. Citadels is a fantastic role selection game though. You choose a role from one of 8 different characters that you draft around the table, and you just try to simply get money and build buildings with some special icons and maybe the odd special ability. Pretty simplistic stuff, but it's such an easy game to teach and just such a cool little game to play. The powers on the buildings are interesting, the characters are interesting, and with the Master Set, I've got 3 sets of 8 to 9 characters each, so I've got over something like 24, 26 odd characters that I can play with. It's insane the amount of variety I've got. Now some are more complex than others, and I play with some more than others on that basis, but still, I could literally just go, you know what, I fancy these 9, go with it, and it's a great deal of fun. One of my favourite modes actually is at the back of the book it tells you a lot of different like pre-setups. There's one there, the evil mode as I call it, I forget what it was called, like the cutthroat mode or something, and basically you've got everything from a tax collector to an assassin to the warlord to the cardinal. I mean, you've got all the nasty characters in there. Believe me, throw that in when people know what they're doing in the game and it's a blast. But yeah, could be a few curse words being thrown around. But Citadels is still great fun, highly recommend it, even since what, like 2000 or something around that point when it got released. Oh man, this one's still going strong. I love it to bits, Citadels. My number 29 has risen 18 places from 47. This has climbed significantly up the list because it is getting played more and more, albeit in its smaller form rather than its big form, but it doesn't matter because it's pretty much the same game, and frankly I'll play both versions. But when it comes to running games at my Portsmouth club, particularly when I need to get people who are new to the hobby who have just arrived into gaming, there is no better game I can pick up sometimes than Mysterium, or Mysterium Park. Frankly, both of them are in this number because I will play either or. One of them is a bit more involved, the other one is a more portable, easy sort of like filler version. Either way, it's still the same game. You're effectively trying to find out a murder mystery, so the ghost of the deceased is trying to help psychic detectives figure out who killed them, what location, and in one case the motive or weapon, in the other case doesn't have that, it's a simplistic version, but the idea is that it uses the Dixit card mechanic, and I've already told you at least twice on this list how I love this mechanic. Is it my favourite game that uses this mechanic? You'll have to wait and see, but certainly I just love the idea that a picture tells 1,000 words, and so when you as the ghost, well me usually, because 90% of the time I'm teaching this game I play the ghost, I get to have to think, how can I communicate that that's the character? In the Mysterium Park version, the circus one, I gotta think, right, that is an escape artist. Right, do I have anything that involves locks? No. Right, how am I going to portray an escape artist with these pictures? Well, I'm not sure this turtle riding a lion in his full suit of armor is quite one of it. And it's just those decisions that you make when you're trying to get into the heads of your teammates to try and figure out, right, come on, these are the pictures you need. And then you give them the pictures. And then you listen intently while they discuss amongst each other what I could possibly mean, as some of them get what you mean and you're like, love you, and then others are running off on tangents or haven't got a clue, and you curse them intently in your head as they can't figure out what it is you're trying to get at them, and it sounds like it's like this could be a stressful game. It's not entirely, but it's a fun stress. I mean, I love playing the Ghost. I've got to be silent, I just coordinate the game, give out the picture cards, and then I'm cursing and braising in my head, and then looking forward to the point when I can actually explain to them, no, this is what I meant by the pictures. But even as a detective person, I like figuring out what the Ghost is trying to tell me. It's like, is it the color scheme? Is it that object there? There's a key there. Could it be something to do with this one? So the thought processes that work with this are so good, and yet it's so simple. The big version does take a while to set up, which I actually put on my top 10 games that need app assistance for that reason. But Mysterium Park, if you want to check out my review, go ahead. It's basically the portable version of it, 2 rounds and a finale, that's it, all themed around a circus, but I can teach it in no time at all, and with gamers and non-gamers alike, it just works so well. Love this game. It has gone up because it is getting played more and more, and I cannot wait for more expansion material or more of those little spin-off things like we've had Mysterium Park, now Mysterium Camp, Mysterium School. I want to see these, I want to buy them all, and I want to play them. This game is brilliant. Check it out if you haven't already. Falling 9 places to my 28 is what I like to call the Game of Life, the Euro Edition. I first came across this, I believe, at the first Essen I went to. It looked really colourful, but somewhat stark and clinical on the table, and I thought, this is new, I don't know if your company, okay, let's have a go and see what happens. And you basically have to create your life from teenage age until death. So I decided to recreate basically me. I somehow managed to do it, and I won the game, and I had so much fun, it was an insta-buy. The Pursuit of Happiness. Yeah, we're not talking about the Will Smith movie, although that is a good film, you should check it out. If you will shed a tear, trust me. But with the game, it is, like I said, Game of Life. In the Game of Life, you drove around in that little car, you collected the pegs, way too many for my liking. I don't want kids, and yet somehow I always end up with a bucket load of sons and daughters, and I need a people carrier. What is it trying to tell me? But you got a job, you go on these experiences, you earn money, and you gamble, and you do what you like with your life, subject to the roll of a die. This is the Game of Life where you get to decide what you want to do. You know what I want to do for my job? I want to be an astronaut. Now I want to be a politician. Now I want to be a doctor. Okay, well I want to go on I need a wife. Well, do I need a wife? I don't need to raise a family. I could just get a girlfriend and get a relationship. Or maybe I'll just do casual dating. Or maybe no relationship whatsoever. You know what? I'm just going to get a model collection. Or buy a car. Maybe a house. Or get a vintage vinyl collection. Or just go off like snowboarding. Or maybe go do some like shooting range stuff. You know what? I need to grow a bonsai tree. Maybe I should take up dieting. You know, it's not good at first. I'll be a bit unhappy, but then it will be healthy later. You know, maybe I should become a ninja and start a motorcycle group in my 60s. The amount of stuff you can do in this game is quite ridiculous now. And with the expansions, you can even do stuff for the community, like walk their dogs or hold a party, a little gala or something. And then with the other expansion, you can then go off on experiences and even dream, like future plan stuff you're going to do, because thematically, you dream about wanting to be a doctor, for example. And then if you become a doctor later on, you get more points. The theme in this game is so strong, I had to put it on my top 10 thematic Euros that I did with Paul Grogan. Check out that live stream if you can. It's one of my most famous live streams I've ever done. Seriously, I love that stream. But this game just oozes theme, and yet it's just a bunch of cards. You buy cards, you level them up, you do a little worker placement thing with hourglasses that represent time, but the theme is so strong. Yes, I don't feel like I'm growing a bonsai tree, but I get to decide what I'm doing with my life, and I sort of inject the theme for those. But then the stuff makes sense. If you cannot date 2 people at once because it's supremely stressful.
That's putting it mildly, 007.
If you take a job and you fail the job, you get stressed out. If you don't, you can only take on so many projects at once, otherwise you get stressed. You need money in order to do the items. You could decide, all right, you know what, I can, take up dieting. My short-term happiness sucks because I'm eating rubbish food. Well, good food for you, but who wants to eat runner beans and stuff like that? But you then get more healthy later on, which means you can live longer. The theme is so strong. Love it. And I mean, it is a bit of a slog at 4 players though, I will say. Not so much in the base game, but when you start throwing in all the expansions, it is a bit of a slog at 4 players, and do not play this with 5 with the expansions. Seriously, do not.
5 is right out.
But you will have a great time with 3 or less players, even solo. And if you do want an epic game with 4 players and all the expansions, then by all means do. You've got so many stories to tell. This is one of the Euros where I'm almost falling out of my chair laughing, just going on about what my life is doing and what everyone else is doing. Seriously, give this one a try. The Kickstarter has already happened, which means loads of people are going to finally experience this game, and you really need to. The Game of Life, sorry, The Pursuit of Happiness, a fantastic game. It may be falling slightly, but big whoop, it's going to be in my top 50, probably my top 30 for years to come. My number 27 has only climbed 4 places, so it's pretty steady, and some of that has been because it kind of saved me throughout the first stages of lockdown. When lockdown happened in the UK back in April 2020, for ages I literally could not see a single soul. Board Game Arena had to bail me out of going mad, basically, because I'm kind of an extroverted person. I mean, I like my me time, I live alone, but I kind of like to be with people and socialise and play games and stuff. So being in lockdown was pretty tough, mentally and physically. But this game on Board Game Arena got me through it because I was able to play it pretty much rinse repeat multiple times, like something like 40, 50 times over the course of 2 months, just because it was so quick and easy to play. I don't get to play it much in real life, but that's Innovation. Innovation is a great little card game, and I think Asmadi Games did it. Granted, unless you have the yellow version, it looks like a pile of...
John Spartan, you are fined 1 credit for a violation of the verbal morality statute.
It really just does. The graphic design on this is clear and easy to read, but man, it's not a looker. I don't know what their story is. They don't care about looks, they just want graphic design. I mean, whatever. It's an abstracted card game at the end of the day. But man, is it fun. You're playing these cards that represent different technologies, and as you go through the different ages, from age 1 to 10, the technologies get more and more better, like with more funky abilities. But this is basically one of those tactical combo building games that I love. You cannot have a strategy in this game. It's physically impossible, because the effects that come off or what cards people play are going to have such drastic implications for how the game goes. You can't say, well, my strategy is I'm going to get 6 dominations to win the game, or 6 achievements now. Change the wording. But you can't strategize for that, because the stuff you get or what the opponents do might steer you in a different direction. You have to play tactically, respond to the moment. Think about, right, the opponent's really making a mint off that. How can I stop them? Well, if I do this and this, I could stop them there, that will slow them down, or maybe I could overtake them by playing this card, which loops up half of my cards from the board, but it does give me a lot of points, I can get that achievement. You know what, maybe I can do other things, and it's just such a rich, fulfilling game. It's a little bit fiddly for some players to do, and you should not play this above 2 players under any circumstances. This is definitely a 2-player game, but on Board Game Arena it's so easy just to find an opponent and play it. Such an easy implementation, but I love playing it with the expansions in person as well to add a little bit of extra complexity. One of my favorite stories I had on Board Game Arena, if you don't mind this video going on a bit longer, is where I was on Board Game Arena and I was losing badly to one opponent. They were getting all the cards, all the combos. There is a bit of luck. Come on, deal with it. But they were getting all the best cards and combos, and they were like 5 achievements to my 1. I was in big dire straits. I thought, how on earth am I going to win this? But there's a clause that at the end of the game, if you can't draw a card past age 10, the game automatically stops and it counts up points rather than achievements to win. And there's some auto win conditions on some of the cards. So when we got to the age 10 bit, I thought, if I don't stop him this turn, he's going to win with a 6th achievement. There's nothing I can do. Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. If I pull this card off, which does this combo, allowing me to then play this card, which then forces us both to draw, we'll draw past age 10. And because of the points I'll gain from this, I'll be 2 points ahead of him. So I did it, pulled off the combo, we drew past age 10, we couldn't draw a card, the game ended, I won by 2 points. You have never seen me leap out of my chair so fast, but yes! I even put it up on Twitter because I was so like mad about it. These sort of victories you can pull off and they're so satisfying. It's only possible in a game like Innovation. Don't pass this one just because it looks horrible. Trust me, it's a solid game. Innovation. Dropping 3 places to my 26, it's remaining pretty steady, although I don't know, I think it'll be pretty steady at this point. I don't get to play this with people very much, so this is mostly a solo game, although occasionally I'll pilot it two-handed. This is one of many LCGs that I play, and currently my third favourite, but let's face it, remember my ice cream analogy I like to use? This is still like 3 nice ice cream flavours that I'm comparing here. And this one is Marvel Champions, the card game. I love superheroes, I love Marvel, I love DC, Marvel more than DC, but whatever, I love superheroes in general. So an LCG based on Marvel, of course I was going to like it. But it really is a solid and yet fairly streamlined game. You've got lots of opportunities to how to deck build, but you've got the basic cards for the hero that you always have to use, and then you just throw in a few cards from a particular aspect, you know, leadership or justice, that kind of thing, a different set of color cards, a few basics, and there you are, there's your deck. You can create a deck pretty easily in this game, so it's not one of the hardest to deck build around, but thematically, it's a really solid game. Going up against a particular villain that has their own agenda, you have to hold back the agenda while taking out the villain's hit points. But all the heroes that you have play fundamentally different. Some are more powerful than others, Captain America and Doctor Strange, but they're still great fun to play. And I struggle with certain heroes more than others, Star-Lord, but it's a great experience. I don't like deck building that much. I prefer to just go online onto, like, I think it's called marveldb.com or something, and just get a deck from somebody who knows what they're doing, because, you know, it takes skill to pilot a deck. You can't just take an award-winning deck off the net and instantly win. You still have to pilot it correctly. So it's not like I'm cheating here, but it just shaves off a bit of time that I don't have to spend deck building when I could just have more fun playing this game. One of my favourite scenarios I've played so far is against Kang. Kang is a scenario pack where you play it in multiple phases, and at one point, spoiler alert, you know, he splits off, and each of you is individually fighting a different incarnation of Kang. And so I had Captain America and Hawkeye against Kang, and I had to fight 2 very different versions. Captain America took out his, then leaps over to the other time period to help out Hawkeye, and then you take him on for the final battle. Really thematic, really satisfying, if somewhat challenging. In fact, this scenario is why I'm hyped up for the next phase of the Marvel MCU, because this is the first time I've encountered Kang in this card game. So now to actually find Kang in the MCU, I'm excited to see what comes up. Bear in mind I've not read any of the comics. But yeah, really cool. If you want to see more playthroughs of this game, I recommend checking out Paul Grogan's channel. He does on Gaming Rules, does a lot of playthroughs for this game. Maybe one day we'll get to play a game together online. That'd be pretty good fun, actually. I don't know. All you patrons out there on Gaming Rules, start badgering him.
Do it, do it, do it, do it.
We can have a 2-player Marvel Champions. That'd be good fun. But it's my 26. Love it. Love it. My number 25 has dropped 7 places from 18, and it will remain pretty steady in my top 50, I reckon, over time, although it's still going to remain quite high, because I really love this streamlined point salad game. But how do I like this game? I don't know. When I talk about games that I tend to like and not like, this is one of the biggest exceptions to the rule ever. It is bone dry. Absolute bone dry. There is no theme in this game whatsoever, despite the fact it tries. Okay, right there. It is a point salad. Now, generally I like point salads, but when it's super dry and just mechanical, it tends to not go my way. It's from a designer where in the past I've not been a fan of his work, although I'm starting to warm up to him now. And it also does one of the things that I hate and ranted on in recent videos and live streams, where I hate it where the game puts an arbitrary date in the title, which means nothing except just to elongate the title. All of these things I should hate. But Pulsar 2849, what? Bone dry point salad with a stupid date, stupid title, no theme whatsoever. But it gives me all the options I want. It's streamlined, doesn't take more than 2 hours to play even with 4 players, so it's a good shortish length, and it has a really good set of mechanics with the dice that you use. It's essentially a dice placement game, but all the dice are rolled, and you have these 2 tracks for turn order and these little cubes that you need for points. But when you take a die, based on like the spread of the values, the tracks you have to move up and down based on which die you take. So I could take the 6, which could get me this really cool technology, but then if I do, I've got to make myself worse on one of these tracks by quite a margin. Is it worth doing that, or should I play it safer? And all the actions in this game, as in, there's plentiful and there's no theme, but whether I want a transmitter, move my rocket ship, get a technology, which I always love doing, upgrade my HQ board, it's super streamlined. You take the number, that's what you need. None of this at least 3+ nonsense. It's like, does the technology have a die symbol? Yes, it's a 2. You need a 2. That's it, not a 2 or more, just a 2. And you've got some ways to mitigate the dice that you take, you know, with plus tokens and things. But for the most part, it's basically a dice placement game where I get to choose exactly what I want to do. Almost sandboxy. And I love those types of games where I have all the options in the world. And the variety in this game is off the charts because you can have a different HQ board with 2 different sides. You've got all these different transmitters, different goals, and the technology boards are my favorite part because you've got 4 of those boards and you split them up into different segments. So you've got all these combinations of different technologies, which are basically special powers and abilities or point scoring opportunities. But it allows for not only different styles of play, it allows for a good amount of tactical response as well, because you get to a round and you might think, well, I could take that die, and then by doing that, if I trigger that technology, this gives me the bonus die, which I could roll in order to get this number, which gets me the gyrodyne that I need. I mean, gyrodyne spinning in space, whatever. I don't know the science, and frankly, the game doesn't really care about that anyway. But it sounds weird. Why do I like this game? But I think that's just because it's midweight, streamlined, with a lot of options and variety, and I think that's what sells it to me. You know, there's loads of heavy games out there, and I've already ranted about this with the Essen videos, that everything is all about these 3-hour heavy monstrosities, and I like a nice streamlined midweight Euro to be easy to teach, yet give me the thinkiness I need. And it's like, this one just seems to combine that essence really well. I still don't know why I love it, but honestly, if you're a fan of dry point salads, this is probably one of the best out there. Pulsar 2849, surprisingly in my top 30. Right, on this one we gotta check here, because I've got a feeling that this is the biggest mover on the entire list. I've gotta double check this, I could be wrong. No, there is nothing higher. Whether it's going up or down, nope, this is the highest mover. This has risen, I kid you not, 60 places from 84. It is now my 24. What on earth could make a game rise that high? Firstly, expansions, that certainly helps. It adds a bit of extra variety and a bit more stuff to do. But also, just more plays. Last year when I put it on this list, I hadn't played it that much, but I was getting really into it. Now I've played it a lot more since, particularly at the UK Games Expo, where I was teaching like Hilmar from Midgard, Mark Dainty from Not Board Gaming, as well as the Hexy Beast, and a few other players, how to play this wonderful, light, streamlined deck builder from a publisher that I've only just started getting back into my good graces as to, oh, you know, I want to try out more of their games. Runestones, it's right there. 60 places. I now really love playing this. I've got both expansions in there, Enchanted Forest and Nocturnal Creatures, or whatever it was called. Nocturnal Creatures you can literally throw into every game and nobody would even notice it was an expansion. The Enchanted Forest requires a little bit more explanation, but you can either use the side track to level up and get like familiar tokens and things, or more importantly, you get twice the number of runestones and it adds to the variety. Runestones is a light deck builder where the concept is very basic. You play cards in order to collect gems, which you then use to buy artifacts, which you then trade in for runestones, which get you points as well as a special power that you get yourself for the rest of the game, and you can have a max of 4. Get to a certain point total, end the game, most points wins. So where's the twist? The cards. You play 2 cards at a time. Each of them has a number on it, and the idea is that you resolve these very simplistic abilities like collect gems or get points or roll a bonus die, that kind of thing. But when you play the 2 cards, the one with the highest value is trashed from your deck automatically. So every time you play a card, it automatically trashes. Most deck builders want you to go out your way to trash cards. This one does it for you. So if you play a ton of cards in succession, you need to get more cards in order to boost up your deck, unless you can maintain a good cycle of get a card, play a card, get a card, play a card, which I managed to do before. But it's just, as I say, light and streamlined. Nothing is clunky in this game. The abilities make sense, the iconography's fine, it looks gorgeous on the tables. It's probably one of Queen Games' like best produced games, particularly in terms of artwork. But It's easy for me to teach, and people really get into that idea of, I play the 2 cards, but I really want to keep that card, but I'm going to trash it if I play it with this one. Can I play it with a different card that goes on the other side? I don't know. Maybe it's time to let you go. Fine, you're gone. I'll buy another card that's similar. Ooh, that dragon one looks good. It gives you a decent amount of choices without burning your brain, because it's not the most complex game in the world, but looks good, easy, and it has a twist. And I keep raving about this all the time. I want to see innovation and differences and unique stuff, because I'm getting sick and tired of this whole thing of like Heavy Euros and a lot of other games released now just literally rehashing the same stuff. It's like, oh look, this is a cool game, but you've literally taken everything you've put in your previous designs and shoved it into this one. It's starting to grate. So I love seeing stuff where they throw a cool twist. Remember I mentioned the crew before? The crew, through trick-taking and cooperative play together. Something that's never been done before, at least to my knowledge, and it created a unique, cool experience, hence I own it. Runestone's doing a similar thing. Deck building, but with that 2-card system that hasn't been done before, and I'd love to see it replicated again. Great game, honestly. If you can get it, do so. Hopefully they've reprinted it now so that you can get the expansions as well. It's definitely worth checking out. Highly, highly underrated Runestones. Number 23 has risen 22 places, so this 10 may not have any new games on it, but man does it have some stuff that's shifting around. This one is mainly because a new edition has come out, which completely eclipses the previous version and now solidifies it as my favourite of the Lacerda games. Yes, we were fighting before with the Gallerist to say, oh, the Gallerist is probably my favourite, but with this new version of Kanban EV, yeah, this one's my favourite Lacerda. The new version from Eagle Gryphon looks fantastic on the board. The stark white background with all the different departments, it just pops on the table. But what it does is that it not so much streamlines the game, but just makes it a lot easier to visualize and play. The old version from Stronghold was still a fantastic game, but man, that board was busy, and man, the rulebook did not help. Here, no, you have a much improved rulebook. You have a more, well, like I say, you have a more streamlined set of rules and tokens and graphic design used, so that things make sense. And the game is already pretty intuitive. The idea that you're getting cars and you're getting them in your garage and testing the designs. Okay, so what do I need? Well, I need the blueprint, the design for the car I want. So I want the black car, red car, green car, whatever. I've got to go get the parts from the warehouse, and then I've got to go assemble the car, and then the car needs to be tested. These things just flow nicely in terms of the theme, but it's such a cool, fun game. You've got to dodge this boss Sandra, like your mean boss. I mean, you can play it on nice mode, but trust me, play it on mean mode. And she's going through the departments, like assessing each of you if you've got lack of training. And it's just like that horrible boss you've known at work, where you're trying to dodge them on a regular basis. Well, this is the boss you're trying to dodge on a regular basis, because every time she comes around the corner, it's like, oh god, Sandra. You know, so it's such a cool, it gets you immersed in this game. But it's heavy, there's a lot of choices, there's a decent amount of interaction with players, because frequently you're going to be blocking each other and fighting each other for objectives and grabbing cars before the others do, so you really cannot ignore what they're doing. And on top of that, it is probably David Turksey's best solo mode he's ever done. David Turksey pretty much does a solo mode for every game now, and some work better for me than others. He definitely likes complexity, and in some cases the complexity goes a little bit over what I am after. But in Kanban, I feel like he got it just right. A card system that controls 2 different AIs who get in your way as rival workers. Takes a little bit to get used to for the first game, but then after that, it kind of flows nicely and is fairly intuitive. And playing Kanban solo is just as fun as playing it multiplayer. Whether it's 2, 3 or 4 players, it scales well. In fact, probably I would say playing this with more players is better, just because the extra like space limitations that you have for the different departments really come into play. It's a fantastic production. It's just a fantastic heavy Euro. One of my favorites, one of the most thematics of Lacerda's range. It's just great. The new Kanban has now risen this high on my top 100, and it deserves every bit of it. Dropping 10 places from 12 to 22 is still a fantastic engine builder game. This is probably one of my favorite engine builders. I can't comment because I can't see the list from here, but this one I was kind of it was a bit of a shame I couldn't demo this at Essen when I was helping out on the Portal booth. Instead, I had to demo Dreadful Circus all the time, but I would have well, I like Dreadful Circus fine, but I wanted to demo things like Predaporter and, of course, Empires of the North, which is what my 22 is. Empires of the North is the successor to Imperial Settlers and the superior version, as you can tell by my top 100. What this one did over Imperial Settlers for me was that it removed the deck building aspect. You don't have to deck build in Imperial Settlers, but once you've got all those expansions, you've got so many cards, it's pretty bloated and kind of requires you to do a little bit of deck building. Here though, it does the best thing that you can do for these asymmetrical games. Here's your deck. That's it. You choose to be the Romans or the Egyptians. But yeah, Empires of the North, I don't get it, but you know, all these different factions, you take the deck, that's your deck. It doesn't change. You don't need to deck build. So when they bring out more expansions, you just get more decks and you try them out. The Japanese, the Romans, the Egyptians, the barbarians, there's all sorts of choices now. But I will predominantly play this one solo rather than more players. 2 players is fine, but 3 and 4 it kind of drags the game out and it is kind of multiplayer solitaire at some point. But I enjoy playing this as a solo engine builder. Pick a faction, try and get the points that I need depending on what scenario I pick, which has different rules that it throws in and different victory conditions. And Portal, all they need to do is just release a couple more expansions every now and again, or a new scenario or 2. In fact, we could probably do with a few extra scenarios at this point, wink wink nudge nudge. But it's just a good, fun, fairly streamlined engine builder. Get the deck, play the cards, use the fields to produce resources, trigger the effects, and try and build up a decent engine. The game is done like when somebody hits 25 points, but it doesn't take very many rounds, and so it's also quite a speedy game. It's got lovely like cartoonish artwork across the board. It's just a really solid game all round, and it's got a lot of buzz, and deservedly so. It's one of the best games I think in Portal's range. In fact, can't check it, and I'm not going to check it for spoilers. Could it be my favourite Portal game? We'll have to see. But it's just such a good one. If you liked Imperial Settlers or 51st State, you really owe it to yourself to try Empires of the North as soon as you can. And finally, dropping 6 places from 15 to 21, whatever, 6 places at this point really doesn't make a huge amount of difference. I like the adventure games where you've got like the app assistants to take you on with extra immersions and music in the background, that kind of thing. And several of these games have come out, and some I like more than others. This is definitely one of my favorites though, because I'm a big fan of the Lord of the Rings series. Yep. Journeys in Middle-earth is still a good favourite for me. I've even just got the Spreading War expansion in the other room, which has like the sort of Rohan campaign in it. I've yet to play it, and there's still one campaign I haven't played out of the DLC lot. Mainly I have played the basic campaign as well as the recent one, I forget what it was called, but you go up against spiders and stuff, which, yeah, me going up against spiders? Yeah, you can bet I was having a tough time with that one. You know, it's like, they're everywhere, kill them, kill them, kill them with fire.
Take that, you winged spawn of Satan!
It really was quite like, ugh, but hey, gets me more immersed in the game. I love this one though. You take control of all these famous characters and you go off, kill monsters and interact with the environment, tell a story, deal with different bits of terrain. It's a very good immersive system, but I like the card system it has, the card mechanic, because normally you're rolling dice. This one kind of feels like rolling a die, but you can tailor it. The idea being that whenever you do a check, you flip cards off the top of your deck, and depending on what icons at the top, you get successes or things that can be converted into successes. So as you upgrade your deck with more cards, you could be deciding whether to get ones that give you more successes or more of those icons. With the different combinations of, do I have Gimli be a captain or a musician or a herbalist, all the different other cards that you throw in. You can create all sorts of weird combinations for the characters, pair them up. It's just really cool. Although, one caveat. I will now only play this game on Adventurer mode, the new one that they brought out, the Easy mode, because the campaigns do have a habit of basically going normal, 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 massive difficulty spike on the finale. Yeah, especially the last one with the spider campaign. That last finale is ridiculously impossible on anything but Adventurer mode. It's a bit of a problem with the game, but with the adventurer mode you get more time, you don't have to be too time constrained, but it's still a decent challenge because you've got all the monsters to kill anyway. So I now play on that mode and it's just so enjoyable. I cannot wait to break open the Spreading War campaign and play this through as a solo again. I don't know which 2 characters I'm going to pick. Oh, so many choices, but great game, great immersion. If you're a Lord of the Rings fan, it's a great one for you. Journeys in Middle-earth. Whew, and there we go. Another 10 down, 20 to go. There's a debut in the next set of 10. The rest of them you've seen before. Are they as big a movers as these? No. I mean, 60 places for Runestones, that was pretty insane. But they are still great games. I mean, I love talking about these. This is probably a longer video than all the other ones in this top 100 because at this point, I don't just simply want to talk about a game and then move on. I want to talk about the game so much because they're so enjoyable. These are the ones that I'm like, oh, we get to bring this to the table. Yes, 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 please, please, please. It just really gets me going, gets me passionate about it, and honestly, you know, you can hate these games. It's fine. We all like different things. There's a few games on the section of 10 alone I know people don't like. Not everybody is a fan of Pulsar. Not everybody likes the Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth. Some people have really hated it and prefer the other ones. Okay, cool. Different strokes for different folks. But as long as whatever game you're playing gets you as excited as these ones do for me, then I class that as a win-win for everybody. So I better get on with the next set of 10. So until next time, thank you for tuning into this Broken Meeple video. Please remember to leave a thumbs up and a comment. I love to interact with the community because it's thanks to you that this channel can keep going. And of course, if you want to check out more content that I've done recently, I did a lot of reviews during Essen, including the expansions for Hanamakoji and the sequel, Geisha's Road, from Emperor S4. So take care, and remember, as always, it's only a game, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now, everyone.